Now move to the United Kingdom and a dramatic few days in British politics, culminating in the resignation of embattled Prime Minister Boris Johnson today. In the past 24 hours, increasing members of his own party turning against him, telling him he was no longer trustworthy and it was time to go. Let's speak to our UK correspondent, Chris Jones. And Chris, this story is moving so incredibly quickly. Boris Johnson has quit as Tory leader. He is quitting as Prime Minister, but he's not out yet, is he?
Yeah, that's right. We heard earlier on that he had resigned as Prime Minister. The pressure had essentially just become too much. We first heard Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak, and then Sajid Javid, the Health Secretary. They both resigned first, and then just an avalanche of ministers and MPs followed. And in that speech that he gave earlier, where he said he would no longer be the Prime Minister and the Conservative leader, he did say he will continue as caretaker Prime Minister until a new leader is found. Now, that means that he could stay in the role of Prime Minister until autumn, which is when the Conservative Party will be meeting and will be electing a new leader and therefore a new Prime Minister. But we might not even get that far, because there are many people within the Conservative Party, but also political opposition parties such as the Labour Party, who just simply don't want him in number 10 at all and think that he should go right here, right now. He hasn't done that yet, though, and as we say, as it stands, he's staying on as caretaker Prime Minister for a little longer.
Yeah, so at this point, he's staying around till October, and as you mentioned, a lot of people are saying, no, that's too long. If he does stay for the next few months, I mean, how does he fulfill his role? Because surely he's a toothless bulldog. He doesn't have the confidence of his party, but he's got the top job in the country. How would he actually continue to fulfill his duties at a very critical time for the UK?
Yeah, well, it's a very good question, and one that it will be very difficult for Boris Johnson, which is the answer. We have seen, as I said, over 50 of members of the Conservative Party and MPs and cabinet ministers step down from their roles under his leadership. They've simply lost trust, and we saw that a few weeks ago when we saw that vote of confidence, which he just narrowly won. 41% voted to oust him from his leadership role. That was a sign, as it was, of things to come. We saw now that a lot of his party do not want him in power. In fact, John Major, who's a former Conservative Prime Minister, he said that it's within the country's best interest that he steps down immediately, moves out of the way and allows a new caretaker to come in whilst the search for a new Prime Minister goes on. The answer is it's going to be terrifically difficult if he stays on as caretaker Prime Minister to convince MPs that he is still fit to lead in any way, shape or form.
And how is a new Tory party leader and Prime Minister actually going to be chosen? We keep reading reports that there's a lot of MPs jostling for position, but whether he gets ousted actually sooner than October, or it happens in October when the Tories meet, how is a new leader chosen? Is it a vote within the party?
Yeah, it will be a vote within the party. But before we get there, as we say, Boris Johnson might not even last until October as caretaker Prime Minister. There could be another vote of confidence because he won that last vote of confidence. The rules stipulate that he can't be challenged for another year. Now, because he wants to stay on as Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, the opposition of the Labour Party, says that if he stays there, then it's in the Labour Party's interest to try and reinstigate a new vote of confidence, which will mean that the 1922 committee, who are in control of that, would meet and potentially change the laws. So that could happen, and if he then loses that vote of confidence, then there will be an election for a new leader brought forward, way forward from October. And that will be, as you say, a vote amongst Conservative MPs and Conservative members. But there's a lot of legislation and a lot that has to be done before we even get to that point.
Talk to me about the global response to the news that Boris Johnson is resigning. We've seen the pound is looking quite strong on the news, but in terms of political response from the Kremlin, what's been the reaction? All right, we seem to have lost your audio, Chris. Unfortunately, we've lost your audio, Chris. That's a real pity. I was looking forward to hearing about that. All I do know is that the Kremlin is crowing, as I'm sure they would be, because as we know, Boris Johnson has been a big supporter of Ukraine. But